Callie, how are you doing? Did you get Rose's number? I sent you Rose's number. Did you get it? We're waiting for Deb. Let me see if she wrote me back yet. I told her, if I'm not, I'm going to start just, oh wait, she said, Tom is trying to link in now. Okay. Please start. Do not let us delay you. Very sorry. Okay, so I'll just start reading. They're trying to link in, like just what the update was from today, and then we can talk. She can give us all the good stuff. But they'll probably get in before I even pull it up. There goes the ice maker, and right on cue. Let's see. Come on. Oh my goodness, let's go. Okay, so as family and law enforcement searched for Kelsey Berreth, her fiancé showed a lack of concern for her whereabouts and never asked police if they had any clues that could help find her, according to the testimony Monday in the Teller County District Court. Two people, a bank worker and a phone store employee, found their interactions with Patrick Frazee in the days after Berreth's disappearance so strange they immediately contacted police. Woodland Park Police Corporal Dina Curran testified Monday morning as prosecutors played a recording of a December 2nd phone call between her and Frazee about his missing fiancée. Frazee told the corporal that the last time he had spoken to Berreth was when they broke up. We basically had a heart-to-heart that this wasn't working out, and we wanted to go our separate ways. Let's see here. Frazee told Curran in the recording. At the time of the call, Frazee already knew that Berreth's mom was worried that no one had heard from her daughter for days, but never once did he seem to express any interest in the whereabouts of the mother of his child, and he never asked the officer if he had found any clues, just like Chris Watts. Frazee's apparent lack of concern during the call stood out. Curran testified during the murder trial in the Florissant rancher. The trial began its second week Monday with testimony from Curran, Berreth's mother and brother, her next-door neighbors, the manager at her job, and people who encountered Frazee after the reported disappearance. Multiple law enforcement officers from the Woodland Park Police Department and the Teller County Sheriff's Office also testified about the first days of the investigation. Prosecutors started to delve into the more than 630 pieces of evidence collected during the investigation, including receipts from Berreth's car, samples of her handwriting and Frazee's cell phone. The 15-minute phone call between Curran and Frazee is the first time the jury heard Frazee's account of what happened in the days before Berreth disappeared. She was last seen on November 22nd, Thanksgiving Day, and her mother reported her missing on December 2nd, the day of the phone call. It was the first time Frazee had spoken to police about Berreth's disappearance. Two people unrelated to Frazee or Berreth became enmeshed in the case when Frazee walked into their workplace after Berreth disappeared. David Fellis, an employee at the Woodland Park Verizon store, and said Frazee came into his store on December 11th, more than a week after Kelsey was reported missing. Even though Fellis didn't recognize Frazee or know his connection to the case, Frazee, at the beginning of their conversation, told the phone store employee, "Don't believe everything they're saying about me," Fellis testified Monday. Frazee then asked Fellis how to change the PIN on a phone on his account, but they couldn't change the number because Frazee didn't have the phone. Frazee also nervously asked if anybody could recover information from a phone that had been damaged or destroyed. Frazee seemed paranoid, Fellis said. That rang every alarm bell in my head. The phone store employee excused himself in the conversation to go to the bathroom, where he searched Frazee's name. After Frazee left the store, Fellis called Woodland Park Police. The next day, he sat for an interview with a district attorney's investigator. Another Woodland Park worker, Patricia Key, also called police after an interaction with Frazee. Police said police already had contacted Key because she managed the credit union that Berreth and Frazee used, and police wanted records of Berreth's debit card purchases. When Frazee came to the bank on December 5th, he asked Key for video surveillance of himself at the bank's ATM on November 22nd, the day investigators later alleged Frazee killed Berreth. He told her that he needed to establish a timeline for that day so police could exclude him from their investigation into Berreth's disappearance. Later in their conversation, Frazee said that Berreth had communicated with her mother on November 25th, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, but Frazee became angry when Key asked why he needed to establish a timeline for November 22nd, when he just said Berreth had been heard from 3 days after. He then denied that he said anything about the Sunday contact. The odd nature of the conversation and Frazee's demeanor prompted Key to call the police, she said. There was never any mention of Kelsey or concern about her whereabouts or welfare. Questioning of Berreth's mother, Cheryl Berreth, also revealed facts about Frazee's seeming lack of concern. While the search for her daughter was underway, Frazee did not call his fiance's mother or attend a candlelight vigil for Kelsey, Cheryl Berreth testified. Police officers testified Monday that they didn't see anything suspicious in Berreth's condo the first few times they visited. They saw no signs of forced entry, though Frazee's defense attorneys asked whether they could have missed signs of a break-in. It wasn't until 3 days after Berreth's disappearance was reported and multiple searches by family and police that Clinton Berreth noticed a blood stain on the bottom of the condo's toilet. And when he reported the finding to police, the investigation into his sister's disappearance seemed to kick into high gear. And the family was not allowed to return to the condo, he said. Frazee, dressed in a blue and white checkered shirt, sat next to his public defenders Monday and listened intently to testimony, sometimes taking notes. Frazee is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of solicitation to commit murder, tampering with a dead body, and 2 counts of a crime of violence. Okay, so then now we're all set for Deb to come in. I don't think that, let me see here. Yeah, they're not good. I wish we could at least hear that call. I'm sure that'll be released at some time. But here's people trying to go in on the, I guess this was Friday, into the courthouse. Looks cold. Yeah, looks chilly. And there's all the snow on the mountains behind there. It looks dark too, very dark, very cold, not nice. I don't see, that does not look inviting to me. That's like what's going to be like here, and sorry, I don't like it. Sorry, I'm just putting something on my lip because it was bothering me. And I'm going to go back to the chat. That reminds me of the courthouse Ted Bundy jumped out of. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. Oh, she's here? Okay, good. Tom, who is coming on to talk about Frazee, has done an amazing research in this case. He and Deb just work so closely to get justice for Kelsey. I need to put my glasses on here. Hi, Brenda. Okay, good. So we just finished just in time. I just read, just what the Denver Post had about what happened today, but now you can elaborate for us. You'd have to ask Deb, save Robbie. I think you can go if there's room. Hi, Deb.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hi, guys. sure.
Okay.
Tom and I are trying to troubleshoot this. I'm hoping he's connected. Tom, are you connected? Please. Oh, here, I have to do this. Here we go. Hi, Tom. Did the connection work? We're here with Mommy.
Oh, there he is.
Good evening, Miss Ramblings. How are you doing?
Miss Ramblings, good. Fine, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's late evening. I think you're in the same time zone I'm in Virginia.
Oh yeah, we're in the same. Yeah, we stay up at we're night owls here over here.
I guess when you're hanging out with Deb, you're a night owl. She likes to take it to maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. So.
Yeah, that's how we met. That's how we met. Good. We're all night owls.
Yeah. Yeah. What can we tell you? What is your audience interested in about the Kelsey case? What would you like to discuss? Or
okay. Well, I just read what was in the Denver Post about what happened today, but any elaboration on what actually happened, or whatever your take is on things, we'd love to hear it.
Well, Deb has firsthand. I mean, she was in the courtroom, so she has firsthand knowledge. Let me just set it up for you that the prosecution is pushing Crystal's line. We were surprised that they didn't go right to Crystal. In fact, they didn't even mention Crystal today. Mm-hmm. I think the lack of mentioning Crystal is almost as significant as all the things that they did talk about, because Crystal is their witness. I mean, it's Crystal's story that they're using. So they didn't use Crystal's story today at all, which is second day of the trial. It's hard to imagine that they.
I didn't think they would. I told Deb I thought they were going to go with the investigators and the police officers that were first on the scene, because they tend to do that. If she's their key witness, they kind of hold her a little bit off, and then they seem to go through some of the all the officers that arrived on the scene, and then they bring her out. It's usually you know what I mean.
You've done enough.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you. And that's what we were originally surmising. But recognizing here that Patrick's defense is that Crystal's story is no good, and that Crystal did it. I mean, his defense is it was done on a different day by a different person in a different place. And I myself, do not know of any other crime where you have the prosecution saying, hey, it happened, in this case, a townhouse on the 22nd by Patrick, and Patrick saying, the defendant saying, no, it happened on a different day in a different place by a different person.
Oh, so
it's a very rare. That's a real. I mean, that's an in-your-face kind of defensive strategy, but in this case, it looks very effective. So I would have thought that they would have brought Crystal early.
So
to get the damage out of the way. If Crystal's testimony is bad. Testimony is bad, they're going to need all of 2 weeks to fix it up. So.
Okay, but they're saying now that he's leaving. I mean, that Kelsey, the defense is saying that Kelsey was murdered not in the townhouse.
Correct. Yep.
And not on the 22nd.
Right.
But they're saying that Kelsey did it.
Patrick.
Right. They're saying Kelsey did it. Right.
Well,
not Kelsey, Crystal, yes. All these two K names is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Crystal, yes. Crystal. That Crystal
did it. Yeah.
Okay.
And quite a contrast.
Do you
that's
know
quite a contrast.
Do you know what day they're saying that she did it?
Well, we can do process of elimination. We know it can't be after the 24th because her phone was being destroyed up in Idaho, and also it could only be on the 23rd or the 24th. And Crystal was only in Colorado Springs, at that part of Colorado, on the 24th. So we kind of narrow it down. It's pretty much got to be the 24th. And the first and only time that Crystal's phone and Crystal's phones and Kelsey's phones intersect is at 9 a.m. outside of Patrick's ranch house in 713 Wildhorn in Florissant. There was Kelsey's phone was not in. I mean, the phone records show that phone. I think she was dead myself, but her phone does not indicate it was next to Patrick's at that point in time. And she was making like a 17-minute phone call right around 8:30 in the morning. And Bristol lied to investigators about where she was and what time she got to Patrick's. And finally confessed, yes, she got to Patrick's at 9 o'clock. So we essentially have Kelsey's phone conversation stopping just before 9 o'clock, and Crystal saying she arrived at 9 o'clock. Crystal's missing one bullet from her gun, from Megan's gun. Mm-hmm. And we know the police did not search outside. They did not search the areas outside of Patrick's ranch. So if Crystal shot Kelsey, dropped her, I think this is what the defense is saying. Crystal shot Kelsey, dropped her right there, and then took care of the body, after the fact.
But how would they
and it's a plausible,
how do you think they would explain her going to Sonic and her being in that Woodland Park vicinity if she killed her somewhere else? Her phone, very good question. Her phone being Crystal's phone pinged at about 7:30, and it was dark at 7:30 on 11/22. In that location, she was somewhere near Kelsey's townhouse at that point in time. The Sonic is later in the morning, so it wouldn't be inconceivable for a jury to imagine. Well, she shot her at 9. The girl's got lots of syringes, took a little blood, ran back to the townhouse. Crystal already admitted that she's essentially planted some of the evidence by not removing some of the evidence. So it's not much of a leap for the jury to believe that she shot around, a vial or so of blood, fresh blood, and. But didn't they have to do something
people,
with the floor?
Crystal and Patrick are not in the normal civility range. They're not like the rest of us. They don't have a problem with killing people, apparently.
But what about, wasn't there something
and Crystal tried to kill her 3 times. So.
Wasn't there something with the floor?
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. No, wasn't there something with the floor that happened? They had to take up part of the floor. It was.
Yeah, and Deb has, and I will say Deb can acutely confirm about the floor and specifically confirm about the floor. But it's a very small apartment, a very small townhouse.
Yeah, we looked.
And there was described it was a pool of blood. Well, a human body only has a few pints, really. We don't carry all that much blood. And if somebody was to draw a syringe and shoot it on the floor, you'd have essentially a pool of blood on the floor. You spread it around a little bit, it would look like a pool. You clean it up, somebody would assume it was a pool. It would look on the floorboards. It would seep through the cracks. So I do believe. It's not outside the range of that it could be planted. Now, I don't myself. I'm like, how is defense trying to get around exactly that point you just said? Mm-hmm. Obviously, they feel they can get around it.
That seems really weird.
If they're asserting these other claims, so
right. But why would she?
It appears they can get around that.
If she shot her out in a field or somewhere, right? Why would she then feel the need to go plant evidence back in the condo? Are they trying to say that she did this specifically to frame Patrick for it? Somebody that she supposedly had a relationship with?
I think that's what they're getting at. I think their argument is going to be Crystal has lusted all her life after Patrick, and Patrick couldn't get rid of her all these years, and then finally Crystal came back into Patrick's life and knocked off Kelsey. Jealousy, envy, I don't know. One of those. I think this is
that's going to be hard because it doesn't make any sense to me when I say for them to say that, because he solicited her 3 times to kill Kelsey, right? And then.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, on that, the under examination when Slater was cross-examined way back when. He concurred that no, at no point in time did Crystal say Patrick ever asked her to kill Kelsey. It was just, it was assumed. So I mean, Crystal's not a good liar, and she's not a good storyteller. She's the jury's going to view anything she said as weak, even something like solicitation. She's not a forthright person. She doesn't have the caliber. I mean, she's not. She hasn't been doing charity work, and it doesn't have a great depth of people that are going to come forward and say, oh yeah. She would never do something like that. And she's very trustworthy, which all the people that she has coming forward are her cohorts. I mean, Michelle, the attorneys, Megan, Christy, a family member, they're going to admit trying to help her. So they're not really good witnesses to say, oh yeah, she always tells the truth, So.
Right, and one of the aunts came down with her, right? She must have had an aunt that was close in age. And
Christy.
Christy, right? Came down with her at one of the
Christy.
times, right?
Yeah.
And why? Why would she come down?
And I'll give compliments to Christy. She's a relatively attractive lady. Seems to have her head on tight on other parts of her life, but it was okay for her to go rent a car and bring Crystal on down to drop off coffee at Kelsey's.
Right, and then the other lady.
I mean, whoever hears it go doing that. That's I'm sorry.
But no, the other lady that she borrowed the car from to go clean up the crime scene, right? And then use the gun out and there was a bullet in the chamber. It was, that's really weird. That whole thing is weird.
One bullet's missing, one bullet's in the chamber. Yes. And she knew that Megan knew that Crystal was trying to kill a lady, Kelsey, on October 24th, 28 days in advance of the murder, I think. Yeah, 28 days in advance of the murder.
Right.
Megan had plenty of time to go to the police and go, hey, I got a friend. I got my own problems, but I got a friend who's trying to kill somebody. Can you all look into it? But instead, she turned around. She handed the Crystal a car with a gun, and
right. Well, she took a truck,
and then didn't account for the bullet. And on top of it, when Crystal returned to Idaho, Crystal painted Megan's home with cell phone pings. I mean, Megan lived in, I think it's Jerome, that Megan lived in, and that is exactly the area that Crystal lit up Kelsey's phone. I think 30 some pings. I mean, her phone had only pinged in, I think once in Salt Lake City, twice in Cisco, Utah, and then like 30 times over top of Megan's house. Well, whose car did she use? Megan's. Whose gun was missing a bullet? Oh, Megan's. So she kind of painted Megan into a corner there, at least in front of a jury. The jury is going to go look like, was Megan involved? And Megan has done a pretty nice job with it. Deb found it. I mean, that she's kind of like recreated herself on Facebook. It's the new and improved Megan.
New and improved?
Yeah.
New and improved Jan Brady.
New and improved.
Her social profile is so cleaned up. She looks like Betty Crocker. Amazing. She went from one type of profile and suddenly she's talking about her baking, and it's all about that, and it's home and these beautiful settings. It's almost as though she's hired a PR agent or an attorney to help her.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Damage control.
Sudden, too.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Megan did something, but I think Crystal's painted a picture where it sure looks like Megan was a complicit. And Crystal really doesn't have any relatives or any family members or any friends or people to go back. I mean, she got fired from her job.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
Right,
she's not going to go back there and say, hey, testify for me about how great a worker I am. She burned... I think she used the facilities to burn stuff up. I mean, and as far as blood, she could have brought plasma down with her. She had access to that. She could have. I mean, that would have amplified any kind of. She tossed a little of Kelsey's blood in there, give it the DNA, and then a bunch of plasma. She would have known her blood type and all. So it's a very unusual case. These people had access to things that normal people don't have access to.
But
Patrick had access to excavators.
Yeah, but is there any footage of Crystal going in or out of that condominium? or a townhouse?
Not that we know of right now. Deb, speak to that, please.
Well, we cut off on the 24th tonight, and the 23rd presumes it starts off tomorrow, and the 24th, and we'll see all of that. So it's quite the cliffhanger. But what was the point you were just making? Because I had a comment to it, and you didn't hear me. I was trying to interject, and I'm sorry that we're talking over you, Carolyn.
Oh no, it's fine. We talk over each other. We're good.
But what was your point? Because I had something to say to that, Tom. What were you just saying again? I'm sorry.
About the excavator and the plasma.
Yes.
The ability.
If she could bring all of that in, she could also bring in extra DNA.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
But then again,
I mean, it's.
Do we need to focus on that DNA so much, other than to just pay attention if that DNA has been mixed with blood, and that's Kelsey's blood? And if that's the case, then we're really piqued interest. Otherwise, I think Carol and I agree that blood could be anyone. It could be a friend from church. It could be her, her gal pal and her boyfriend who came over for tea one day, whatever. It could be anyone.
Yep.
Not necessarily, but if it's mixed with blood, we're really concerned, right, Carolyn?
Yeah, definitely.
But plasma comes without the DNA, so she could take a syringe, inject it into the plasma, shake it up, and dump it on the floor, and hey, we have instant pool blood with DNA, pool blood with DNA. She could shoot the syringe on the wall, and you would have blood splatter. And Deb did some good analysis of some of the pictures of the blood splatter she was seeing, and I'm like, yeah, I could see that. I could see the whole story about the baseball bat and the candle and the sweater. And Deb and the others have made a really good case that doesn't sound like Patrick.
No.
I mean, the guy carries a 9mm. Why is he going to choose not to use his 9mm, but he's going to go into some kind of exotic, Western novel that he's going to create these candles and ambiance and needs a sweater. Okay, I mean, you're smelling candles. I mean, it's your nostrils. It's not your eyes. But he's going to cover her eyes and then hit her with a baseball bat. And how did he get the bat in there? I mean, bats are big. Bats are relative. I mean, that's not like and it was a day where he was wearing short sleeves and we have pictures of him over at Walmart. He didn't have a big bulky jacket. He could put a baseball bat underneath. So it just doesn't sound right.
I have to say, though, today, seeing the images, so Carolyn, you had just gone through the timeline and what had happened today, and it's great, so that we can just fill in the bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. But how we were discussing the other day about his timeline and wondering if he went in before. So this is the 24th, after Kelsey got back from Safeway, and remember, his pinging and his texting has him a minute at her house before Kelsey is there. Mm-hmm. And do you remember I was saying I thought that Patrick went in before her and I was wrong?
Right,
well,
yes.
Guess what? I was right, but I was wrong. He was there a minute before, and there's images of him going into the house. And he's carrying something, and they didn't zoom in. We could hardly see it. I could hardly see it, but I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I think that we'll have a zoom moment. But then he comes out again, and then he goes back in with Kelsey, and that's when there's the plant and the baby in the car seat and the groceries that we talked about. That I thought, is that crazy? Why did he go in the house?
It is creepy. Before? I mean, could it have been like a bat or anything that he brought in there?
It looked like something, and I saw it, and I'm going to wait, but I saw it in my eyes, and I'm sure it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do we know it was the pipe was recovered, right? The pipe that he supposedly gave Crystal, they put that out by the fence on the ranch, right? And the mother grabbed it, and that's why they had the mother. Remember the pipe, and she had to leave it off at the ranch.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that couldn't have been what they used, right? Because that would have.
It looked like a crowbar to me, and I'll just suck it up. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? You guys aren't going to hate me or kill me.
No. So
it looks like that, or it looks like something covered in that brown tan grocery bag. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's a Safeway cover, but that's the color of that we get in, it's not Walmart. Walmart's white and blue, right?
Right.
It's the brown plastic bag. So it's either the brown plastic bag or it's a crowbar, but it's a metal brown looking thing. It's a rusty looking color, and it can be it's something, and it's at his shoulder height, the image, and he's holding it close to his chest, but he's going in. All you see is his back. But just imagine like a birdie sitting on your shoulder. That's where you see the image of it. And it looks like, to me, it looks like a crowbar. But not a bat, but it could be a bat inside of a brown bag because it's got that crinkly look to it. And it's just really hard to see. I need a zoom.
Right.
And just let me be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't hate me, but I think I saw something.
Okay, we're not going to hate you, but I'm saying like the only reason we think it's a bat is because of what Crystal said, right? That's the only reason. We never found a bat. There's never been a bat found. There's no body, so we don't know anything about the kind of trauma she had, right? So the only reason we're say it's a bat is just this lying person's word.
Yeah, and it could be, you know what, Tom? It could be a triple bagged gun also, because they testified to that's what he had, and that's how he carried it. It wasn't in the case, it wasn't in the beautiful pack that you carry over your shoulder with everything like it goes inside of it. He had it triple bagged in a grocery sack. And I think it's a safety sack, and maybe that's a brown sack too. It could have been that also. That color was at the top of his shoulder, and it was brief. And I will pay more attention, but there was something there he was holding.
Right.
So
Carolyn, Deb's made some good points when we do our debriefing. One of the things she's mentioned is Patrick has had the one thing he talks about more than anything else is ammo. When he's talking about to the police and the different, and Cheryl, the investigator, he described, you can say that, you can tell Deb about he told him about putting the ammo in a bag, and Carolyn, I get my ammo in a box. Okay, I can't. I recall in a plastic box. I never recalled it. I've ever received it in a bag. I recall getting loose 22s in a barrel. I back with Boy Scouts. We have several thousand rounds were in a barrel. But I never recall ever receiving it in a bag.
No, they come in
or
boxes.
Not in a bag.
Yeah, they come in boxes. Anything that I've seen, like the buckshot and everything, comes in a box.
Yeah.
Box. Boxes, right?
And he's made a real. He told Cheryl about he gave the gun back and the ammo. He told the police at Five Guys, I gave the gun back and the ammo, and he told the investigator that about when she was just a missing person and they were doing a welfare check. I gave the gun back and the ammo. So this ammo thing is really big and really important to Patrick, that he says, hey, I gave the ammo back. Ammo is $9. Okay. I don't, maybe he had a lot of ammo. I just can't imagine her needing, a couple hundred rounds, but she had a 9mm, nice gun. Why is he so concerned about that, or thinks the world is worried about who had the ammo or who had the gun if a gun wasn't part of the crime?
When he was on the phone with Corporal Curran, you guys, I have never heard a man ramble so much in my life. He was going on and on about how they broke up, how they haven't had a connection for a year and a half. Let's try to timestamp that.
That sounds like Chris Watts.
Yeah, before you have your baby, you don't have a connection?
Connection.
I don't get. Yeah, and then he goes on to describe how she's been spending a lot of time in Pueblo. He doesn't know where she could be, but she's been down there a lot, and with the work and people there. And then he goes on to talk about how she's been in rehab for alcoholism. We're talking about, this is a welfare check. Sir, we're calling just because we're looking for your fiance.
Right.
And instead of saying, is she okay? And where is she? And where are you? And how can I help? Where can I meet you? He's rambling on about these things. And in addition to all of that, he goes on to talk about and emphasize not only about the rehab, but how he gave her gun back. And he talks about how he gave it back to her and why he gave it back to her, and all of those, all of the intricacies of their relationship about. She felt safe with it, and I had to give it back to her, and it was just all of these excuses. And then he went in to talk about the ammo, and it was just so weird.
And we have a question. Could it have been a King Supers?
Carolyn, he wasn't talking about a baseball bat. He wasn't talking about a baseball bat.
No, I don't
trying to disguise anything.
But maybe I think she's totally lying about the baseball bat.
Yeah.
She probably is.
I think that's what I think the defense is counting on, that Crystal's lies, the overwhelming, to myself, she lied to the FBI. I mean, she tells the FBI, "Oh, I haven't talked to Patrick." You know, they're at her door. She's
right.
eyeball to eyeball with him. No, I haven't talked to Patrick in months. And they're probably looking at each other. She just got off the phone with him. Oh, I went to Colorado this weekend, and I went to go look at a horse. She hasn't bought a horse with Patrick in years. Okay,
right,
these things are registered. I mean, these are expensive horses. They're registered. They're big. You know, to go to a stable. I mean, people would have heard, but I mean, these are blatant lies, and they're going to count. I think the defense is counting that her trustworthiness is so low, or will be so low, that the
plea deal is not going to.
Jury may believe maybe. She could have done it. She could have done it, and it could have done it at a different time and place. Okay, so.
So now Sunflower Brown says
it's a bold move. It's a bold move. It's a bold move on the defense, but I would think they would not make such a bold move unless they had some substance to back up and answer the questions we can't get answered. We're not able to answer.
But Carolyn and Tom, she's not lying if Patrick Frazee told her that story. If he said that he used a bat, even though he didn't.
That's true. That's true.
Right. Yeah.
But then tell me, guys, does that affect the case because they're counting on a particular murder weapon? And if it's not a bat, and if it's
a pipe or right.
Does that keep him out? Is he going to be able to get away with this because they can't? They put too much. They put all their chips on a bat instead of leaving it open-ended and margin for error in case there's another weapon, even if it was the stoker pole next to the fireplace or a gun or whatever I might have seen him bringing in. What does that do?
Deb, I totally agree with you, except we're stuck with the law as the law is written. And unless the jury can say, if the jury can come to a conclusion that except for Patrick, Kelsey would be alive, except for Patrick, Kelsey, and they're okay with that. The law, traditional law, is you have to have the body has to be proved that is dead, that there was a murder, that the murder weapon caused the murder, and that the murderer held the murder weapon or was the last one touching the murder weapon, you know, and putting that together. I think the judge is going to be very traditional, and he's going to say, he's going to ask the jury to affirm those things in this case. So it might be real tough for them to stray too far from that. So we'll see. We don't know what questions we don't actually know what questions they're going to give the jury to answer when they go into deliberation. But my hunch is most juries, they're going to ask them the question, can you confirm that Kelsey is dead? I mean, that's a very traditional one when you can't find the body.
Right.
And can you confirm the murder weapon that caused her to die? And can you confirm that Patrick and only Patrick was the one that touched the murder weapon that killed Kelsey? And without a witness, there's no witness to any of this. It becomes reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what Patrick's banking his entire life on right now is reasonable doubt. And I myself, and I think I speak for Deb and Krista also, that he's kind of cocky and kind of arrogant that he thinks he's going to get off with this. That he's found a way to. He's on high ground. That he's he's dealing his cards on high ground. And the reason we feel that is because he has not went to deal. He has not tried to do a plea deal.
Right.
And I mean, in his place, it'd be smart. give me 12 years, 6 after parole, and I'll show you where the body is. That would be a certain only 6 would be a lot better than a chance that he may spend the whole rest of his life in jail. So, but he's not dealing. He hasn't even broached the question. He hasn't went forward, hasn't even stepped up to it. So our only conclusion is he's very confident he is going to get off. That's all there is to it. He's planning to get off, and he's going to get off. So.
Now, somebody had a question, Deb.
And he's using.
Oh, sorry. Somebody had a question for Deb that could that thing you saw him carrying been a King Soopers grocery bag with a shotgun?
It's something. I don't know what it is. But yeah, that color of bag, she's on it. She's right. And maybe it was a shotgun, but it was something right over his shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the shotgun was used to shoot her, but the shotgun could be in place of a bat. He could have been swung like a bat. So
Right.
yeah.
It was something over his shoulder. I saw it, you guys, and I don't mind being wrong, but I saw it. I need to see it zoomed. I don't know what it was, but what is at the shoulder when you hold it? It's got to be something big, right? Think about it. You're not going to hold a grocery bag with groceries, even if there's like bananas or eggs in it, up to where it's over your shoulder. No, he's holding it. He's got his hands tucked into his chest. So you don't see his arms down in relaxed position. You don't see them at his waist or at his hips. They're folded into his waist and his stomach, his chest. And then there's something poking out over his shoulder. I saw it.
So
I did.
I just don't know. How are they getting again here? How do they get him again on camera? Where is the camera footage coming from? That when they get him going in the condo?
Tell him it's technical.
Deb, can you get those pictures to? Deb took pictures. Can you get them to Carolyn?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Where do they get that? Do you know where they get that footage, Tom? From what camera?
They're online internet cameras, wireless cameras. There's several of them on the neighbor's house, which is on the other side of the privacy fence or the courtesy fence
So
between
then
the two houses.
It's maybe they do have photos of Crystal. Like we don't know if they have photos of Crystal going.
It's possible.
Well, it's 23rd.
Yeah, we don't.
24th is coming up tomorrow.
Well, I think that'll tell us a lot, right, about a theory. If if we see her there in that hazmat suit going to clean up at all, I don't know, bringing buckets or mops or something in there, wouldn't we may catch an image of that?
We'd love to see that, yes.
Carolyn, what do you think? What do your listeners think? So let's just take it for what it is and for what we know right now.
Yeah,
We've seen out of 30-something images that 20-something, closer to 30, are attributed to Patrick Frazee. We have 3 images that we're to expect tomorrow for the 23rd. And then we have 3 images from the 24th. So if we're to see 3 images that show nothing but maybe a cat, or if the sound alert, when there's a sound, it picks up and it takes a picture, and so there will be nothing in the picture, but it will it's because of sound. So we see nothing in the photos, or what do we think if we see that there's nothing in the image, even though there's been 3 captures each day? Or what do we think if there's actually an image of someone in a hazmat suit, or someone else other than Patrick Frazee or Kelsey Berreth or Kaylee? What will we do? Yeah.
It'll tell us a lot. I mean, if we see her going in there on the day she supposedly did the cleanup, and we see her going in there with something that looks like she is truly cleaning it up, then there'll be a lot more credibility to her story, right? So that, depending on what we see there, I think that'll be really very telling. Now, if we don't see her, if we don't have any footage of her whatsoever going into that townhouse, then the defense, I don't know, maybe the wall is probably going to be a little bit, and you're going to have more doubt. Like, where is she? Well, how come she never went in there? That's, maybe if they're going to say it happened somewhere else, and, she wasn't even there, and if you don't have any pictures of her there, you know, that could be a whole nother ball of wax there.
Huge, yeah. And we're coming up to see that. We had so many moments. District Attorney Dan May, he's very professional, and he's swift, he's smart, he's brilliant, he's very bright, but he's funny too, and it's always very, very intense, and then every so often he'll get up there and he has everyone chuckling. It's just really interesting and fun to see that. Apparently he had said Patrick Frazee instead of Patrick Frazee
Yeah, I
today.
did that too, yeah.
Today was people of that.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yes.
he's very bright. I had another example. I just blanked out because I just put your screen and I can see you.
Oh, because somebody has had a quick question. They said, do they have any evidence of Patrick asking her to come and clean up the crime scene? Do they have a text message or anything? Just a phone call, right? And
No, phone call.
Phone
Just
call.
a phone call. Yes.
Okay.
But now, what's interesting is it's Crystal said that. So Crystal essentially was incriminating herself, and by self-incrimination, it makes a statement a little more worthy in front of the jury. But that's the only thing. That's the only level of evidence there.
Okay. But didn't she talk after she got the deal? Like, that's when she said it? Isn't that when she knew she had the deal, that up to 3 years maximum?
No, I think we have. There's a little good question. I think because I was asked this question this morning. There's a little misconception here. Crystal did an initial interview with police and stopped. I mean, very, very short and stopped. Went and got an attorney. Came back and had like I think it was a steady 24-hour interview. Okay, stopped. Then nothing came from Crystal for a period of time until she cut her plea deal, and her plea deal came with a testimony. Okay, I don't know how many pages. 1 page, 300 pages. I don't know. And then there were some questions that they had an opportunity to ask. Apparently, from that point in March through till now, there has been very little dialogue between the prosecution and Crystal, and also between the defense and Crystal. They were debating this in the judges' chambers about needing access to her. There's little good that would come of the prosecution having further conversation with Crystal, because Crystal may violate her plea deal, and the prosecution will have to prosecute her. So they do not really want to get into the normal channel of prepping a witness. So I think the prosecution steered clear of her after the testimony. So I think really it's only the written testimony and a few words early on, and maybe some questions answered along the way. I don't believe that she's been sitting down for a week of interrogation or anything like that. That is going on. I don't think her attorney would have allowed that. And the defense, she surely wouldn't show up for the defense. So I believe she truly is a surprise witness for both the prosecution and the defense. Or, once again, weird. So.
Jackie came to say hi to you, Mommy, and my daughter. So.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Deb, give her an extra hug. Give her an extra hug because she's so cute. I mean, she's really cute. Give her an extra cute.
Yeah. Say bye-bye. Bye. She's the age of yours.
Bye.
Same age as yours, Carolyn.
Oh, yeah.
So curious, they want to hear the adult conversation.
Oh, yeah, right. Cell phone pings. I'm just looking if there's any questions here. I think some are saying that this might be just a not guilty or a hung jury. I'm just reading out some of the things that they're saying.
That makes sense. That makes a hung jury makes a whole lot. I think the jury is going to be more likely to deliver a mistrial than they are to deliver an acquittal. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I might be disappointed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they came back with an acquittal. So.
Did you guys hear about the testimony from the Verizon guy?
I just read it to them, but if you want to go over that he said that he was very wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. So he freaked out this guy across the counter. So we've all been to the cell phone store.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's never fun, right? It's never fun, and we're really frustrated. And so we get it. But it seems like Patrick was above and beyond. And can you imagine getting on that radar, being that everyone's irritated and agitated when they come in the store, but this guy got on the radar for it?
Right.
He was trying to, let me look at my notes. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was trying to get information about the other phone. He wouldn't even call it Kelsey's phone or his fiance's phone. He just called it the other phone. It seems to me like he was distancing himself. Like it's my other phone. It's like it's his other phone. He's trying to get the PIN so that he can erase and deactivate everything to do with that account. He refers to the account as the phone, as the destroyed phone. So they have another phone and it's destroyed. He's asking the Verizon guy, can I retrieve the data from the destroyed phone? Or is there any way to block anyone from getting access to that or to his phone, to his account rather? And the guy in the middle of the conversation, because Patrick was saying things like, just listen, I'm not as bad as people say. He was just paranoid and being really weird and freaking him out. Then he had to excuse himself to say he needed to use the restroom, and he Googled Patrick and realized who Patrick was. And he came back and he's like, there's nothing we can do to help you. You need to have the phone in order to get this PIN. You have to have it on your person. But he's like, it's destroyed. What do we do? So they escalated to corporate. You know, we all have done that. It takes a long 40 minutes, a lot of effort to get to corporate. So he gets corporate on the phone, and there's nothing we can do. You have to have the phone, and it was kind of a security issue with it. It was getting to be a bit suspicious. And Patrick flipped out again, and he was just really off-putting to this guy.
Right.
And so the guy tried to dismiss him and say, I'm sorry, we did the best we could do. And Patrick said, can we just go outside and talk about this? Can you imagine if you're working for a store and someone says to you, can we just take this outside and talk about this?
Yeah.
What people are saying about me aren't true, but let's go outside and talk about it. He was scared. He was, no. And he immediately called. And as soon as Patrick was gone, he called the police. That's serious stuff, right? It's hearsay, but that's big stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then there was also that other woman that he spoke with at the credit union.
Yeah, where she was taken aback, and how that he was asking for surveillance footage and video and photos from the 22nd, when he said that Kelsey was last heard from on the 24th. It made no sense to her. And then there was this Slagle man, this Slagle guy who has been helping him, who was, and this is where the defense came in on their cross-examining. They pointed out, was it Patrick that asked about the Conoco footage, or was it Slagle? It was Slagle. Okay, the reason why, it seems to be the main reason why Patrick, the most important reason in Slagle's mind, was to get that, if they had any footage from the Conoco ATM. And that, you have been calling, I never noticed the Conoco situation. I didn't know the significance to it, but you, Carolyn, keep pointing it out. And as trial is going on, I keep hearing it over and over and over, almost every time we have trials so far, Friday and today. Conoco, Conoco, Conoco. What is up with that?
Yeah, I might have some, important information somewhere in that film, but yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess until we see, I really want to see if there's anything of her going in that townhouse.
Yeah, but wasn't that Conoco where Chris
and
they met and they got in the,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
That's what you pointed up.
Right. Yes.
Do you think that Slagle knew that? He heard that from Patrick, and he was trying to get a hands-on to that?
Probably, yeah, to see if what showed up there, maybe what they got, what kind of angle they got, and stuff like
Try to distance Patrick from Crystal?
that. Or didn't they went to one together, right? Too,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so that would show them. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to pull out some stuff. Thank you so much, Rosa. You're so sweet. But I don't know. I would like just to get. I'm not good at waiting for things.
It's like, don't even wrap my present.
Yeah.
I don't want it wrapped. And don't even hide it. I just tell me what it is. Christmas is 2 weeks away. Just tell me what it is.
Yeah,
right.
Right. I just like it. Just like tell me what you have. If you have this stuff, sometimes it's good. Like when Juan Martinez went with the gas can, and that was a good moment and got areas. But I just do we have a photo of her going in that townhouse? And it would be great if we could catch her going in with a hazmat suit, like with that coverall suit and like a mop bucket. Then then we would have that. But
tomorrow it's coming up because he was next to go on to the 23rd. And I have to say, I've never seen Steigerwald take his chin and grab it and rub it. You know how men do that, where they're like covering their mouth and they're rubbing their chin? He was doing that excessively today.
Huh.
Well, I pick up on those weird things. I just do.
So someone wanted you to say, just like to go over what happened in court today. Do like any they wanted to hear like about being in the courthouse.
About being in the courthouse?
Yeah, somebody said they wanted to hear like what went on in court. I guess I guess if you saw any emotion, if you saw like just anything that happened in the courthouse.
The courthouse, the blinds were closed today, so you couldn't really see the view. And it was really difficult to hear. I was 2 rows behind the first row, which is where the family is. So I was 2 rows behind Cheryl Berreth and Clint and all of them. And I could pretty much hear the testimony and all the cross-examination. But what was interesting is that the prosecution was very good and proper to be in front of the podium and speaking to the microphone, as well as speak to the jury and to the witness. But when the defense came on, they didn't stand in front of the podium. They stood to the side of it, away from the microphone, way away from the microphone, but pretty much directed themselves to the jury themselves and to the witness. And so it made it, and it almost seemed like a strategic thing, but it was very difficult for anyone in the courthouse to hear. And I can't imagine how big of a struggle it was for media, who is trying to listen, trying to type, trying to, digest everything that's going on and get it on paper so that they can give it out to the rest of us. So it was a struggle. And then there was that, and there was a few funny moments, because Darren May is hilarious. And so we had reporters say that there were a jury yawning. I saw it was one juror, she yawned, but that was in between biting her nails because the testimony was so intense. We were all, it would be great. So judge does not appreciate anyone to bring any coffee into the courtroom. But the jurors can have water, and so can, each legal side. But the rest of us can't. But there is a point where coffee would be really nice because everyone is bug-eyed paying attention. But when your body is tired, but your brain is awake, that's going on. That same juror was seriously, just like I was, on the edge of her seat, biting her nails, interested in everything. All of them, I observed all of them. They may have to take a break to stand up to stretch their legs in between everything, and it might not be time to do that, but they're all very, very, very intent and paying attention on what's happening and what they're listening to.
Right, and sometimes someone can yawn and it just has nothing to do, sometimes people yawn with light or, just strange. It doesn't mean that she wasn't paying attention, or she might be sleepy, but she still could be paying attention.
No, she's one of the brightest. She's the bright one of the group. They're all bright. she was brilliant, and she wasn't. I don't think that that's anything. I don't know where that came from, but it was something Krista sent to me, and I saw a flash of it, and I thought, no, that's not how it went. No. No one is yawning on that jury. They're paying very good attention, and they're really good with when the judge asks if the jury has any questions after each witness. They do take the judge up on that, and they do ask
You're just talking
questions.
about yawning, and I'm yawning.
And you should write those questions down, but they do. For example, the baby gate, the neighbor said that she gave the baby gate to Kelsey. One of the questions from the juror, am I allowed to say any of this?
Yeah, well, the neighbors, can I ask you something? It did say the neighbors testified today, and they didn't have anything about it in the article. So tell us about the neighbors' testimony. Which neighbors? The ones right next to her? The one connected to her? Did they testify?
Yeah.
Okay.
She testified, and she testified that she gifted or gave Kelsey the baby gate. It was her daughter's, and she had used it at some point to keep dogs from getting up from the stairs to a floor. But that gate came from the neighbor. That neighbor shares a wall with Kelsey, and this neighbor knows Kelsey. She talks to Kelsey, and she even knows Cheryl. They've talked in the driveway when moving in and when giving the gate. And she said, that baby, talking about Kaylee, is just an angel. I've never heard anything, not a word. And Cheryl and Kelsey says, are you sure? Because this baby has lungs. She says, never, never, ever. So she was suggesting that the insulation between the two houses were really good as well. So she wouldn't have ever heard it, and she testified that she never heard any disturbances. But she wasn't there on Thanksgiving. They were, almost all of them were visiting family that day. And even the neighbor who has the security footage, she was at her mother's house, but her phone was pinging, pinging, pinging over and over. Because the same surveillance footage with the Shanann Watts case, that's the same thing that she has. She has the same as Shanann and Chris Watts. And so you guys know how that system works and how sensitive it is. The same, and how much the time data from that case, you already know the system. And you remember how law enforcement retrieved those the caches from Nicole Kessinger's phone? They used that same technology to retrieve these tags. Yeah. So you already are like 10 steps ahead of me because you know.
I hear it in so many cases. This with about the phones and getting it from the. It's scary that we know that. Like we all other people are like, what are they doing? Okay. But yeah. So and then was it just that neighbor? Because I thought it said a couple of neighbors. Was it just the one neighbor?
No, it was two neighbors. It was the one that lent the baby gate, and it's the other one. It's another one that has the security surveillance.
Okay.
And those are the two.
And did they say anything? The other ones with the security say anything significant? Just that the system, and that's it.
It's what you heard about in the news, and it's what you're waiting for tomorrow to hear for the 23rd to see what images are captured.
Okay.
On the 23rd.
And then there was you had the Verizon person, you had the person at the credit union. So he lost his temper. Like, did she say he really lost his temper? He got angry. She said when.
Yes.
Right.
She was uncomfortable. She went to the police. Can you believe it? That takes a lot. She went to the police immediately.
Right.
Same with the Verizon guy. Very weird behavior. And you look over at him, you guys, and I want to tell you that he turned purple. He was purple. He wasn't red like with Cheryl. Purple when the Verizon guy was on. Purple. And when they were talking about the images from the neighbor's house, he would look up every so often, but most of the time it's that sticking your nose into the grind, into the book. He was doing that purposeful, keep your head down, keep your head down. Mostly. Right. And then he was hardly writing, but mostly just keeping his head very low.
Was his mother in court, they want to know?
She was outside of the courtroom. She was outside of the courtroom this morning when Judge just about bit the head off of one of the public folks in the gallery was a Patrick Frazee team person who was incessantly typing on his phone.
Oh.
And Judge, after Friday, he's not tolerating it, and he said, no, you will, he put the gavel down.
Mm-hmm.
You will, he wasn't having it. And so later in the day, I got a bit pissed off. So in the afternoon, a lady came in, so more new people come in at different times, come and go. But she was really into her notes. And I had heard the judge say, no note-taking, only for the media. No phones, no laptops. He really laid into this guy.
So before they had allowed, so that there's no laptops after Friday, because before they were allowed, as long as they were quiet, right?
No, it's always been the same. It's just media. Media can have the laptops, they can type, they can.
Oh, the media, right? That's what I mean. I'm sorry. So the media can still have the laptop?
Yeah, no laptops, no by public. You have to be media.
Right.
He also said no note taking, but I took it to the nth degree. So when this new individual came in at lunchtime and she starts going crazy with notes, a friend of one of our group members came today. The both of us were just like, what is she doing so many notes? I'm hypersensitive to what happened Friday. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, to the sheriff, come over. And the first one looks, and I said, I did the motion of the handwriting, her. She's doing notes. And the sheriff's guard just kind of like, yeah, okay. I was like, what's going on? So we, to the other sheriff, and he came over, and I said, decorum order, we're not supposed to write notes. He goes, are you sure? I think that, I said, no, you said only media. He said, laptop, notes, everything, only media. Public, you're not able to do that. There's no live reporting, yada, yada, yada. And he says, okay, so we went over to her, and she's so cute. She's like, but I can take notes. And I was just like, uh-oh, and I'm trying not to look like I'm the one that just was the jerk on her. And so he goes to sit down, I look back at her, and she gives me like the what's up? And I said, let's talk at break. And she's like, okay. And so it's break time, and I went to the sheriff guy, and I said, can you please just clarify the decorum order? Mm-hmm. And he says, there's no electronic devices except for media, but the public is able to take notes. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh man, this is bad.
Sorry, never mind. Yeah.
So then I get stuck in the elevator with her, and I'm like, I'm really don't take it personally. It's just you don't realize how bad Friday was. She's like, it's no problem. And we couldn't get any water. There's nowhere. The water fountain wasn't working. She's parched. I'm parched. I'm like having altitude sickness practically. And I had some sweeties. I had Jolly Ranchers in my bag. So I gave her some Jolly Ranchers, and we're like best friends now. So
good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling Mom that earlier today. It was a fun part of the day. We're making friends, and there's other people that were in the public area that were coming to be in the gallery just to watch. Mm-hmm. That really have nothing to do with the internet or any of our groups. Mm-hmm. But they're so interested in the case in general, and it goes to show that it's great that Kelsey's voice is out there and her story is out there.
Right.
And refer them to all of us to see that it goes even further. There's good people out there that are trying to make a difference and be a stronger voice for the victims. Mm-hmm. And that's you, sure. And we try to, your inspiration, we try to do the same.
Yeah, you guys are great. And you know what I was going to say? And oh my gosh, what about Patrick's sister? Is she there with the mother?
Sorry?
Patrick's sister, is she there with the mother?
She was there, and you guys, what's interesting is when Clint was on, he talked about it's hearsay, but he talked about in one of the last conversations he had with Kelsey, and it had to do with that whole father passing away, inheritance, coming into money,
right,
estate situation, where he said that Kelsey told him that Aaron said an attorney would be contacting her about the estate, and that Kelsey told Clint that things were not good between the family, that there was a major disagreement between this inheritance and the money that their father had come into. And major hearsay, but I find that huge because Tom, from the get-go, even you, Mommy, you've been saying that there's something to do with this father and his mysterious death and this inheritance and the closed doors that they were having about his estate.
Right, absolutely. And how was the brother? How long was he? Was he on the stand a long time, or Clint?
Not very long. No, not very long. He was pointing out the fact that he was the one that found the blood on the toilet, and they called police immediately. And so then they were removed from the townhouse, and then that's when the victims came in, and they really examined it well. And that's when they found all of that speck of blood in so many different places.
Oh, and then how was Cheryl on the rest of her testimony? Was she very emotional, or she was?
She was great. She was very strong today. Very, and so was Clint. Clint was emotional. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Stand it. Yeah, he got emotional, guys. It's really hard. But you know, the minute he's emotional, the next minute he's just is doubly strong because he's telling what he saw, and he didn't just see something in passing. On the plane ride to the house, they were compiling notes of what they're going to go and see. They're already being proactive to find Kelsey. They're like, oh, we're going to find and see. Let's make sure that her luggage is been taken. Let's make sure she took her makeup, her hair products, her toothbrush. They made all of these lists of what to do when they got there, and they were so proactive. They were able to report this to law enforcement so that they can act accordingly, because those things were left behind, and that is a big red flag. And they were on it, and I think that's where his emotion was, because he was realizing these things, and it was scary, and there wasn't really anything he could do at that moment but to call law enforcement. I just can't imagine being in that position. Can you?
No, I can't. No. And somebody wanted to know, I'm just looking at questions. I'm trying to keep track. Somebody wants to know if Clint is younger than Kelsey, right? He's younger, isn't he?
He's older.
Oh, he's older. Okay. He's older.
Yeah. By a couple of years.
By a couple of years. Okay. And let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions here. The fact that he is on the rocks with.
Is anyone curious about this defense? Are they really going to just solely go after Crystal with her having such a big alibi? Or what was all that big to do about Breckenridge and this potential hitman? Tom has the phantom theory, and I feel it, I see it in the defense, and they're being so little and vague in their cross-examination or their cross-arguments, that it's something that's coming up. It's going to be wham bam on Crystal, and I feel like they're going to introduce a third person. What do you guys think? Are you feeling it so far? How else can they do this? We know we don't believe it, but what can they do?
I mean, I thought they were going to just go after Crystal and say that she came down. Maybe if they do have any footage of her going in there, maybe they're going to say, look, she was on it was the 23rd that she was down there, right? Was it the 23rd or was 23rd?
Talk about the hitman at Breckenridge. So the way I understand is that the prosecution comes in with their big guns in the beginning, and they introduce anything that might cause a problem later to sort it in the beginning. And what was the stuff that we heard about Breckenridge and the potential hitman? It was so vague, it was so little.
Right, and I kind of thought that was one of the solicitation charges that didn't work out. I don't know. I mean, that's what I, just from the testimony.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
So it's ruled out and we can move forward kind of thing.
that's kind of what I thought, like that there was a solicitation for this guy, but I thought that's why, now if I'm remembering correctly, that's why he started with Crystal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then did Crystal, 3 times solicited her to commit this murder, and then when she didn't, they would say that's when he went and did it himself, and then got her to clean up.
Right.
Now somebody said the male DNA that wasn't Patrick's, but I'm not surprised he tried to get others. I think it'll be interesting. Tomorrow, who do you think will be on the stand tomorrow then? Do you think she'll start on, or did they?
I know for a fact that the very large guy from the task force, he's the pardon me, he's not task force. He's with the district attorney's office. He's the high tech guy that implemented that high tech equipment in order to obtain those images.
Right.
The one that matches is just the same, pretty close to the same stature as Patrick within their analysis and testing.
Right.
He's going to be fine. He'll be on first because they always start off with where they ended up with.
Sure.
So he'll be on. He'll cover the 23rd and the 24th and whatever else. We don't know what's next after
right.
that.
I'm wondering if they're going to bring her, or they're going to go like with a DNA expert or something, to start explaining some of that other evidence. Yeah, they don't have any medical examiners to put on there because they don't have a body, but they could go through the forensics there. Or maybe did they already get the investigators to talk about the search warrants and when they went into his ranch? Did they talk about that? Did they get the investigators that did that?
They didn't speak of it, but Tom will know more about that. Tom?
Tom fell asleep.
It's late. Maybe Tom's gone. Tom, are you here?
Well, which part do you want to talk? Which part would you like me to talk about, Deb?
Nolan had
On
a
the Nash
question.
Ranch?
Oh, I had a question. If they had the investigators on that talked about executing the search warrants on Patrick's ranch and what they, recovered and all about what that was like.
They haven't put them on yet. I think they will. But to your larger question there, Carolyn, I think they're going to need to get Crystal on the stand soon, because if she damages them, they have to have time to recover. And she's unpredictable as to what she might say or how. She's unpredictable because she's not prepared for all the different questions the defense might throw at her. And she has no legal representation. She can't. There's nobody in the courtroom that will be able to stick their hand up and go, I object, or can I talk to my client for a moment? Once she's in there and she's sitting on the stand, she's all by her lonesome. She's the most lonesome person on the planet at that point. So I think they want to get her on soon. I don't know if it's tomorrow, but within the next 48 hours, they really need to get her on the stand to speak. They also need to get, as you pointed out, they need to get the investigators on there to point out what they found in the search warrants. But they didn't find too much. That's the problem. Those search warrants didn't surface a whole lot. They can talk about a little more about the fire. And maybe in depth what they think about the fire. But the fire is really hard to sell to a jury. So I'm not sure that they're going to push from that a whole lot. But Crystal needs to get on the. They're running a huge risk if they leave Crystal to the end, because that's Patrick's attorney's dream.
Because they still have to get somebody to talk about.
For Crystal to be the last one, the last witness is the worst thing for the prosecution.
Yeah, I don't think they'll leave her at last, but they also have to have the investigators talk about going out to Nash Ranch and getting the dogs out and uncovering the. But that'll come because Crystal is the one that gave them that information, right? Where the body was born.
Yeah, so it might be they put Crystal on, talk, let Crystal talk, and then bring the investigators back in. Because of her, these are the search warrants that we then followed up. But I mean, without Crystal or referring, I mean, they didn't refer to Crystal today. So without Crystal or referring to Crystal, they don't have a case. So they got to bring her in pretty darn soon. I mean, the other stuff, it's putting the jury to sleep, and that's not a good place to be. They need the jury to stand up and say, yeah, this guy's guilty. And Crystal's the only one that's going to get him there, if she can get him there. So.
Yeah. Guess what, though? The defense said Kelsey's name today.
Oh, yeah?
They didn't. Yep, they didn't say it Friday, but they said it a bunch today. I thought it was interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
But it was a lot today to take in. And, there's 255 witnesses.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot.
You covered. Yeah.
Let's see. Did anybody else have any questions?
Her brother found the broom on her bed. What do you guys think of that?
He found the broom on her bed?
Yeah, on Kelsey's bed, there was a broom, a dirty broom laying on the bed.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that would put a broom on their bed intentionally. I mean, could she have been cleaning and left in a rush? Why in the world would you put a broom on the bed?
No, not your own bed. It was Crystal putting left the broom on the bed.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Yeah, I'm saying it would be Crystal, but why would even Crystal put a broom on, on the bed? But
why would you have a broom on the loft? Why would there be a broom on the second floor loft? I mean, it's a tiny little place. What would a broom do related to the crime? It is a good question. What's a broom doing on the bed?
The garbage can was not inside the pantry. So the closet area underneath your stairway. The little door. Under that, you can put a bike. It's a storage area. That's where Kelsey keeps her kitchen trash.
Oh, okay.
The garbage trash can was outside of that, which is based on Cheryl's testimony is usually inside.
Was it empty?
That was out. It wasn't quite empty, but she didn't go through it. But what was interesting is that to them was that garbage day wasn't done. So when garbage day is on Wednesdays, Thursdays, or whatever day, by then Kelsey would have taken everything out to the garbage dumpster for the dumpster, but it wasn't done. So it was an excess of garbage, it seems. It wasn't full, and she didn't go through it quite. She left it very vague. She says, I didn't go through it quite much. I didn't, I think there's going to be more testimony, or maybe we'll leave it vague. But, it was interesting, the fact that it was a red flag to them that the trash can was outside of the pantry.
Okay, and somebody said, who had the baby at this point? At which point? You mean right now? The Berreths have custody of the baby. Or do you mean when the murders happened? Well, then they both had custody, but then Patrick had the baby from that point until they got custody. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Full Heart and Hands, which one? The nurse might really be the one that did this and wanted this done. I mean, who drives 3 times and seems like she tried to set someone up? She admits to leaving blood, so she wasn't trying to, and then you got cut off there, help him out, in her opinion, she thinks. So, some people do think, Kelsey.
She makes a good point. She makes a good point. It's the only reason we have not concluded Crystal did it is because it's hard to place her at the scene of the crime. That's the only reason. Everything else, motives there, capability, intent, effort. You can't place Crystal in Woodland Park on 11/22 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Can't place her there until Friday morning at around 7:30 a.m. So.
Right, and then Kelsey, she looks like she was killed on the 22nd based on how the phones moved around, right?
Yeah. Did we get to Carolyn about that really weirdness about the emojis and the context and the syntax of the text between Kelsey and her supervisor? Tom?
I think you should tell Carolyn about that. I think it's significant, and do include the 10:30 time. The 10:30 time for that Thanksgiving response is key for that emoji. The 10:30 emoji is actually key. Go figure.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
Tell her, Tom.
No, tell us, Tom. She wants you to.
My apologies, Deb. Kelsey had her boss at DOS Aviation had noticed that she had a particular, and others she had a particular way of signing off, and which included an emoji, smiling face.
Right.
She sent one about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and he had a copy of one, and then on Thanksgiving the boss sent a Happy Thanksgiving text out, and Kelsey replied to that text, or Patrick replied, or whoever had her phone replied, and did the emoji different. At the time, the fellow did not notice a difference, or if he noticed it, didn't give it any importance. Later, a text was received late on the 25th, saying that she wasn't going to be in work, that she had to go take care of a ill grandmother,
right.
Or one of the visited an ill grandmother, and used the same incorrect emoji, the same incorrect sequence. It was later, after he had heard about her missing, that he went back and looked at these, and he realized that the text, both the text of the 10:30 p.m. message on 11:20, we believe it's 11:22. We're going to work with Sam to confirm this, but it was on 11:22, 10:30 p.m. message, and also the message late on around 5 o'clock on the 25th, Sunday the 25th, which Crystal omits sending. Crystal omits sending that one. Both are incorrect, but they're equally incorrect. They're the same incorrectness, which indicates the same person may have sent them.
Right. Yeah.
And which I mean, I don't know how much we can get out of an emoji. It's not like a fingerprint or a DNA, but it indicates the same person sent it, because they made the same incorrect syntax on both of them. Now, interesting, 10:30 p.m. on Thanksgiving night is let me back up, Carolyn. From around 4:40 in the afternoon of the murder, 11:22 Thanksgiving Day, from 4:40 to about 10 o'clock, Patrick was off radar. To our knowledge, his phone wasn't pinging, he wasn't seen, and then around 10 o'clock, his phone started pinging in the vicinity of the Nash Ranch. To about 11 o'clock. We do know he sent one text, or somebody sent a text, mimicking Kelsey to Cheryl at that time. Apparently another text was sent at the same time to his boss. It's our theory that Patrick had taken the body right after dark and took it to the Nash Ranch. Now, Crystal says he took it there and then later brought it back and burned it. Our theory is he either burned it there or buried it there and turned it. I mean, it would be almost silly for a murderer to be moving a body around that much. And particularly a 2-day-old body is not a fun body to move, even if it's in a box.
Right. Yeah.
So I think the time, the emoji, both the emoji, the incorrectness of the emoji, and the time, the 10:30 p.m. on 11:22, if we can confirm that it was on that day and not on 11:21, I think are significant.
Yeah.
And what else?
Did I do okay, Deb?
You did, but I picked up on something, guys, and I might be wrong, but this guy with DOS Aviation, Raymond, Sebring, I think is his name. He over-explained his text messages. He over-explained the syntax. He over-explained the emojis and the context in in which they were coming from, which all seemed very professional to me. But it seemed a bit overword. It was just too much of explaining of how this is how I reply to her and this is how she replies to me. And I can see, and I was picking up that it might have been a source of contention with Patrick Frazee, because when he was on his call, when we listened to his voice and the conversation with Corporal Curran, when she was doing the welfare check, he was saying words like, I'm not sure where she is. She might be in the rehab, or she spends a lot of time with work in Pueblo these days. And it just, his voice sounded very contentious, just very no concern, no worries, almost bitter, just very detached. And I'm picking up on that. It might be nothing, but I was just wondering, why is this dude so professional at DAWS? And the same breath is saying how amazing Kelsey is to even have that position, because it is a very hard position to get, and she earned it, and she's bright, and she's amazing, and we know that. But in the same breath, he's trying to explain and defend and justify the messages between him and his coworker. They weren't unprofessional at all, you guys. They weren't. But I can see where someone who is narcissistic personality disorder might have an issue with it, and then to hear him in his own words in a conversation be so bitter, to say something in the tone that he did about he spends a lot of time in Pueblo these days. I don't know. You just had to hear it, and I just picked up on it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that we can't hear, a lot of, it's so hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll release something later on, but it's so, such a high profile case, and you can't, it feels like we're back in like the Stone Age or something. We just can't
because you have me, who is the worst. My husband would tell you, Deb is the worst person to tell you a story back. Like, I'm the worst person.
No, you've been great. I mean, it just feels like
you're doing good, Deb.
You're doing fine. It's
fine.
just we're used to like analyzing every little thing, and now it's like there's nothing. They won't let us see anything, and it's it's like, why?
Carolyn, it's very likely that we'll have this. It could go to a mistrial, and we'll have this case again.
Yeah, I know,
it's
right?
very likely this could come on back, or it could even come back as a conspiracy case at a federal level against Crystal. And I'm on an aside, we now know that Crystal's plea deal does not contain language to protect her from a federal conspiracy charge. So that is really, really weird, because that means her words can be used against her in a federal court. And apparently the feds were not playing ball with the conspiracy thing, or with the plea deal. They weren't playing ball. So we may see this whole thing come back again, and it may come back in completely in video and audio in a federal court.
Right.
So,
wow. Yeah, it could very well. Yeah.
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if that occurred.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely could. So tomorrow you've got another day, and I wonder, what that'll bring. But tomorrow's Tuesday. Now there's an election, right? There's election day tomorrow, right? Isn't it?
You said I'm a horrible daughter. My mom was really good at that stuff.
Oh.
So
tomorrow's election day, right?
For what? What are we supposed to vote?
Just for like local elections and stuff like that. But
okay.
Am I dreaming? Isn't tomorrow like the election day? Isn't it the second? Wait, is it the first Tuesday in November? Yes. Okay. I'm thinking like I'm losing my mind. Okay. Yes, it is.
Tomorrow's my birthday, you guys. I just realized it.
Happy birthday!
Oh my God. I can't even believe I just said it to you.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday!
Yeah. That's what's going on tomorrow. My poor husband.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And so court runs just the same, I guess, because everybody could vote later on. They don't close for anything like that, but
everything's on track.
But
My sister's birthday today, actually, too.
It's whose birthday?
This is consuming.
I missed who you said?
I was saying this case is consuming. I just realized, too, it's my sister's birthday today. And
your sister's birthday. Oh, wow.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Happy birthday to your sister, too. You have been around. Oh, I'm trying to see if anybody else had any questions. Everybody's saying happy birthday. Let's see.
I have some calls to make. Is it me, or do you get caught up in these cases, Carolyn, that you just realize, oh shit, today's my birthday? Or
yeah, a lot of times we get caught up. Yeah, because I realized, like somebody said something like, oh, it was their father's birthday, and then I realized, oh, it was my father's birthday. But yeah, a lot of times we get caught up in things, and we don't. The time passes very quick. Like I said, like last winter went by very quickly, and I'm hoping like this winter, I don't like time speeding by, but. The January that I usually can't stand because it's so long and so cold, and at least when you get to February, next month is spring, but January went by like that last year. So, I think it helps, and a lot of people in here are alone, so they, it passes the time for them in the winter when it can be really lonely and they can't even, get out and stuff. So to get in, have somebody that they can come in and talk to them, in the chatters, and to us, it helps people with that, because the winter can be really depressing, right? Let's face it, especially if you're not getting out.
Yeah, but I'm right now, I'm feeling like this huge heavy weight over me because I didn't think of my sister. That's fine, I forget about me, but I can't believe that I forgot about my sister. And it's like,
yeah, it happens sometimes. I mean, you're doing a lot, and I mean, are you a twin?
Practically, we're Irish twins because we're 1 year, 1 day less apart. So she's November 5th, and I'm November 6th, and I'm older. I'm 1 year older.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow.
She's my twin kin.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can catch up. She'll understand.
Yeah. So, isn't election? Yeah. That's the presidential election, Rosa. But there's the local elections. You go vote for your whatever. Everything's different for everybody where they are. But there's always an election day. It's just not, depends on where you are, what it's for. But yeah, so okay, we've got to do that. And let me see here.
Yeah, always having a birthday around election time. That's so much fun. And then we have this thing and joke going in the family with my sister and I, her birthdays being so close together that we're Valentine's babies. And it's like mom always gets pregnant on Valentine's Day, and so they always joke about it. It's kind of creepy to me, but no,
right.
Family can be. Yeah.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Let me see what they're saying. Anybody have any questions for Deb or Tom before you let them go have the rest?
Thank you, guys. I'm always listening to you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
But tomorrow, I'm looking forward to hearing about tomorrow. Thank you, Tom, for coming. Thank you, Deb, for coming, and really appreciate the updates.
Thank you.
Yeah, and everybody's saying thank you. So I think, so we'll look forward to tomorrow and see what happens. And any life insurance policies they want to know that you heard? Did you hear any life insurance?
Yes, there was an interesting conversation with Clint when he was on. He said, did I say this already? I feel like I'm repeating myself. But he said he had one of the last conversations that he had with Kelsey was to do with Kelsey saying to him that she was expecting an attorney to call her because Aaron said an attorney would be calling her about the estate, about her father's estate, which is Kaylee's grandfather's estate. And that pretty much what she was conveying to Clint, Kelsey was conveying to Clint, was that things were not good in the family. There was a lot of discourse and disagreement pertaining to this estate and his inheritance. It seems as though he has had money or had come into money,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an estate issue, and Erin was all up in it. And she was so much that Kelsey said to Clint she was having an attorney call Kelsey about it. You know, we've had those individuals who are so bright to say, what was up with all of that? Do you wonder if Kelsey knew something more about what happened to Patrick's father or what was going on with his estate? Either she turned sour or she knew too much or she was disheartened by it all and she spoke up, and that all of these things were what brought her to her demise. What do you guys think?
It could be, but then didn't he solicit, like, when did that first start coming back? Because wasn't he soliciting for months or planning for months? Was his father sick? Was Patrick's father sick?
I don't know how long he was sick. Tom would know better, but I know that in his conversation.
Yeah, Carolyn, Patrick's father passed away on August 1st. And almost right afterwards, Crystal started the attempts on Kelsey, on Kelsey's life. The one in September, two in October, one aborted attempt early in November, and then the final attempt. So that was a lot going on since the death, but I believe actually it started back in 2017. I think Patrick engaged Crystal to do this back as early as October 2017 at the birth of Kelsey, or birth of Kaylee.
But the other thing is, if it was an inheritance or anything, that's not community, like she wouldn't have any claim on that. Even if they were married, that's not, that doesn't get split up. If they would divorce.
Sure she would. Sure she would. Sure she would.
Not in New York.
Many people, particularly people I'm a CPA, okay?
Yeah.
So an engineer and a CPA, how do you like that? But there's many people, many clients of Patrick's father's age that love this generation skipping tax planning. And if he had, seven figures, low seven figures, he would probably be considering some of this generation skipping tax planning. And the way to do that is you essentially gift it to the descendant of your descendant, and that would be, in this case, the only one that would actually qualify that had his father's name was Kaylee. So therefore, Kelsey would become the guardian under the Uniform Gift and Minors Act. Kelsey would become the guardian of those funds. And if Patrick was planning to use those funds to buy the Nash Ranch, I'm not sure that Kelsey would have been in agreement with using her daughter's funds to buy the Nash Ranch for Patrick. And thus, they would immediately be at loggerheads, and there would be nothing Patrick could do about it until he could eliminate Kelsey. So it could be the Uniform Gift and Minors Act could have been the fulcrum there that kind of pushed it over the edge.
Well, maybe if she was saying that, especially because the mother didn't like her in the house, maybe she was saying, okay, so when we get this money, if we buy this Nash Ranch, then we'll build a house there, and I want it to be in both of our names.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then he didn't want that because he didn't want her name on there. So he was trying to get her gone so that when it passed to Kaylee, he would have full control of that money without having to worry about her.
Yep. And I think he was hoping to get her to run away, leave, quit, desist, and somehow disappear. But apparently she wasn't having any of it. So.
It's interesting that
she loved the guy.
Remember Erin's paralegal book around that same thing? So Erin, her Amazon wish list public. And in her wish list during that time that Tom was talking about, Erin is wishing for a paralegal book on legality for the estate, apparently. It's very telling. I have a picture of it. I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. Interesting things to think about. Yeah. A lot of what motive in murder. A lot of it is money, right? So
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's-
I wouldn't. I mean, it sounds plausible. So. Yeah.
All the people that helped or tried to help Crystal all had money issues. That's one thing that's really it tells me, hey, all those people with money issues. That means this must have been a solution to their money issues, and that would indicate Patrick had some money to spread around. So,
Let's see.
so there must be money there.
To ask you something. What do you want to ask Stephanie? Somebody wants to ask Tom something. What is it? I'm trying to look what Stephanie's asking me to ask.
Are they going to allow the inheritance into the trial, Tom?
Let's see here.
Pardon?
Are they going to allow the inheritance into the trial?
No,
No?
I don't see any way. I don't see any way they could bring that information into the trial. No.
Why? They brought it
Now,
up.
a federal grand jury could get that information, but I don't see any reason. I don't see any legal reason that they could force that information. That's somebody else's inheritance. It's not Patrick's. So.
Okay, so Stephanie was asking why wouldn't if Kaylee got the inheritance, why wouldn't Patrick be the guardian on the account?
It goes back to normal. I mean, it's just normal U.S. rules. The primary guardian is the Berreth. It would be in this case the mother, because they weren't married. So it would be the mother of the child would be the direct guardian. And so if you were doing a uniform gift to minors, it would be unless the inheritance spelled it out differently, and I really, really doubt that because they had postured that they were getting married, so I don't think there would be any reason for the father to change the will to specify they weren't. That would have been weird. So the default is if it goes to Kaylee, the guardian for Kaylee is the mother. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the legal guardian. So. And I don't see a legal way. I mean,
and Liz is asking.
Everybody's good in some aspect. But
Liz wants to know: did Patrick need a child to get the inheritance?
Yeah.
It could likely have been. Myself, I find it very odd that in 2015, 2016, that Patrick all of a sudden started shopping online for a girlfriend. He had 5 beautiful girls that were interested in him. One in Montana, Washington, Utah, Texas, Kansas, Colorado.
Sorry, Carolyn, I get emotional.
He was
Stop saying they're beautiful. They weren't beautiful compared to Kelsey. Thank you.
Okay. Kelsey was beautiful. That's true. Kelsey was beautiful. But what my point is, why would he's already got 5, very attractive women, his age, interested in him, his interest, why would he all of a sudden start shopping online? Now he found a even more beautiful girl online, but why would he start shopping online? And it was more like he had to go online, kind of like Amazon, to buy something. What did he need to buy? He needed to buy a baby. He needed to find somebody who could have a baby for him and that he could get rid of so that he could get the inheritance.
Yeah, because
that's what it sounds like to me.
It does, because it seems that if she had a miscarriage, right, and let's just say it wasn't, let's just say, what dating site did he meet her on? Do you know which one?
He shopped on several, but I think it was Farmers Only or.
Oh, really? Farmers Only?
That
okay.
was it.
So, if he let's say they were just together and it wasn't that they weren't that close yet, and then she ends up pregnant, and okay, they're going to keep the baby, but then she loses the baby. When couples, they don't usually go right and have another one unless they say, well, that was a close call. Let's get together or whatever we're going to do. If we're going to get married, we'll get married. But being that she got pregnant again, because usually someone would, if they have a close call like that and that's not what they're looking for, they're going to take either precautions or something, right? So,
Well, Carolyn,
You would think.
are you Catholic?
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. Because
yes.
I have family who are Seventh-day Adventists,
Mm-hmm.
and the method isn't taught young like it is in the Catholicism, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So,
Okay, so you just think-
But if Patrick wasn't interested in a baby, which, I mean, it appears he had other children with other women.
Really?
And he never was interested in them. So, yeah, that's what it appears. So,
Okay.
I mean, the guy got around for quite a few states. He was a popular guy. How many of those kids are his? Could be more. It could be as many as 2 digits. So,
Wow.
Seriously?
I mean, it's anybody's guess. Nobody's checking up on that stuff. But I found it odd that he had these ladies. They became pregnant while they were dating him. They then married. The pattern is then they marry somebody 20 years older than them, which is really odd for a 20-year-old woman to be marrying, and to just statistically to find 2, 3, 4, 5 that actually get a baby and then marry somebody 20 years older. That's really rare. You know, you find, and all associated with the same guy. It just strikes me as statistically odd.
Yeah, weird.
And Carolyn, Tom is interesting. So, like, when you have those moments when you go, interesting, I do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Come full circle in this case, and we had a lot of controversy with Tom and his series in the beginning, and it's just so interesting that he has obtained so much back data and information and analysis to this case that he's able to apply it to it now, real time, now that we're full circle. A lot of it is coming to fruition, and it's really kind of freaking me out. So when he says there's these other babies out there,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, well, I haven't heard about it. I haven't seen anything in the warrant about extra babies.
Right.
But he does work. So keep it in mind, and we'll see it come around, because everything else has. It's freaking me out.
Yeah, and there's also, I don't know if you guys saw, there was early on I don't know if it was 48 hours, and they interviewed 2 women that had been with Patrick, and one said I think he got volatile, and he did something physical with her. I don't know whether he pushed her in the arm or he did something, and the mother's...
There's issues with that evidence.
Right.
You in touch with that lady, Tom? I just want to ask you that, because I've always wondered, are you in touch with that lady? Because I heard that, and I think...
No, but I was in touch with her mother earlier. Yeah.
So it's too sensitive to touch on, but is Carolyn onto something? Because
there's more to it, but it's hidden under a lot of story there. The story was changed for media. The story was changed for media is the bottom line.
yeah.
So now it's true, but it's a different person. I mean, it's a mess. So I just stay away from it.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
yeah.
So,
But there is some substance. There is some substance in it. There is some substance in that. But.
Okay. All right. And
there's also another child there. There's also another child there too, in that same thing. But this is some places we should not just mess with.
No, because Carolyn will want to know this. Because Tom, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and Carolyn, of all people, will want to know this. It seems like this individual who has stepped up and gave this testimony is really not the one who endured it. It was her twin sister. But the person that is coming up with this testimony, and the one that was covered in national news, the artist, the one with the art, the one with the journal.
Right. Yes.
I think what I'm trying to say to you is that this person is going to most likely have a book, probably the first book that comes out on this case.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm going to say, let's not feed into this, because it's a bit hinky. The situation is a bit hinky. He's done his research, and am I right? Am I picking this up, Tom?
You're right. I mean,
She's trying to be the better person.
I don't want to mess with her. I don't want to mess with her or her testimony or anything like that, or her books or media career. Let's just leave it as it is. Let her stand on her own 2 feet. But I don't want to refer to it. But the facts that as she presented them don't match. That's the bottom line. The facts just don't match. In fact, if she gets researched a little more deeper, the facts actually turn against her. So in another way. So for her sanity, I think it's best for us, and for the child, I think it's best for us to stay away from that one.
She's making all this art, and she's selling all this art based on her emotions with Patrick Frazee. You guys haven't seen it yet, but beware, watch out, you'll see.
Art.
It's like 100 times crazier than the Chris Watts case, where people come out writing books and they're doing art, and Carolyn wants to know these things because she puts her foot down to that shit. Excuse my language.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens there.
But Carolyn, Patrick had girlfriends in Texas, in Kansas, several in Texas, Montana, apparently Utah with Crystal, Washington State more than one, a few in Colorado, one in New Mexico. I mean, the ones that we know of, the people spoke of, that there were records of, pictures of. So we know of those. And then it's like his mom was paying for an apartment in Dallas, Texas. Actually, it was outside of that. Was paying for an apartment for 8 years.
For 8 years.
His mom never went to 8 years. So Sean used to live there in that vicinity. I mean, on that street. But I don't think the baby would have been Sean's. It's more likely it would have been Patrick's if it was a member of the family. But Sheila was paying for this all this time, so it almost leads you to believe it was, they were taking care of another child. And
it's not to my death.
And if there's anything that made Sheila mad, probably would have been spending money for 8 years paying for something that somebody else's child. So.
Right. And the other,
I think that would have been.
Can I just explain what
Yeah,
Tom
go
is
ahead.
trying to explain? What was explained to it, my husband, who's Brazilian, they call it a montadeira. And that's when a man has an apartment outside of their home to where they use it for business and they use it for pleasure. And so that's where you can bring these random women over and do whatever in your private social time and have a good time and it be disconnected from your home. Tom was explaining that this is going on and there's a lot of other people that have to do with all of this, but Sheila is aware of it. And I think that this is something he's been speaking of for many, many months. But now here we are and we're hearing about this testimony about Sheila calling Kelsey a hooker right off the get-go.
Yeah.
And Kelsey's the last person.
Yeah.
So this seems like this is some kind of something, I don't know, Carolyn.
That's what I mean. I said that was so strange because, like, if one of my adult sons, had a girl here, the last thing I'd say is this is a hooker, unless my son had a habit of bringing hookers to the house. I mean, that's just a weird thing to say. Just so totally weird to say.
Yeah. I know.
Well, I don't think Patrick. I mean, Kelsey was one of the first. I mean, there might have been a few others he brought back to the house, but she was one of a few that he brought back to the house. The guy got around. He's 6'3". He was a good-looking guy. He spoke well. Many of the ladies spoke about him that he is smooth talking. Others say that he was able to. He would understand what they were looking for, okay, would make them feel good about themselves, and next thing you know, they were in an affair with him. So, and if you picture it, a girl in Kansas, there's only 400 people in the town, everybody knows everybody else, all of a sudden she gets pregnant, nobody stands up to be the dad, and it just happens to be Patrick was dating her at the same time. Like, it's the father. You would just say, hey, could have been him. Could have been him. Okay. Same thing in Utah. Same thing in Utah. There was a girl in Utah. Okay, 2 kids. Most of them had 2. It's interesting. Most of them had 2. I don't know what that, but maybe there's something in Patrick's mind about having 2. I don't know. But he got rid of all these women afterwards. Never took care of the kids that I know of, that anybody knows of. So.
But you don't think then none of the women have turned up missing, have they?
But what if that was
none of those? Well, there is quite a few murders of women that are awful close to Patrick that he crossed paths with. So were they any of his other girlfriends? I don't know. Most of them were all older than him, but not that much older.
His brother's age.
Yeah. So we can't ask a dead person if hey, were they dating Patrick? Oh, we can ask their sons if their sons are friends with Patrick. Their sons who played baseball with him. Be like, okay, wow, interesting.
Yeah, and the mother now, the mother was a retired nurse. She's a retired nurse, right? And then they were raising these. They were selling these cattle dogs for $3,000 a pop, right? That he was raising.
Well, more than that. More than that. Sheila wasn't into at all. Wasn't into the border collie activity. Patrick was one of the. He was in the top 10 in the United States in training them, and he had a particular dog that had really, really good genes that everybody wanted a part of. He did sell 2 dogs for more than $30,000 each at a Red Bull in California. What he was doing in California selling those is another story, but he sold 2. He sold 2 on his very first trial out there. These dogs are cool. I mean, I have to admit, they say they're better than a team, and they really are cool. But he could sell a dog from his good gene, from I think it was Willie, $10,000, $15,000. Many of them were just $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and then but that when you get a litter, not all of them are the high end. The bottom ones might just go $500 or $1,500, and people would still buy those. I mean, they'd still be interested in them. A lot of people sent their dogs to him to train. He was, because he was a superior trainer, very effective. Other trainers spoke well of him. He had some competitors in the field that hated him. I mean, their comments and words they didn't. These are cowboys.
He wasn't using sound. He was using sound instead of hand motions. I heard a lot of feedback. So we just recently got a couple puppies, and we're learning a little bit more about how that breeding goes. And one of the ladies was saying, he keeps using sound motions. He keeps talking to them. He was whistling to them. You're supposed to use hand motions. They're not supposed to have to hear you. They need to be able to understand you from a very wide range and distance. And it's not noise. It's not a sound. It's a hand motion. He's not doing that. So he's lame. He's weak. He's not professional. He's not educated. He's not skilled. He's doing it like old school way. But apparently he's successful, as Tom is saying. But there's as Tom is saying as well, to echo what he's saying, is that there's those that say he's still very good at what he's doing.
I see. And did you see his videos?
Yeah, I mean, all the trainers have a different view of this. Verbal commands, when you're dealing with cattle, the cattle will be out of sight, and so for the dog to see you, I mean, he may be in tall grass and the dog can't see you, so you have to use verbal commands.
Right.
I mean, they're work dog. I mean, they're the replacement of a John Deere tractor, or 2 horses and 2 cowboys. I mean, it's cheaper to have a dog. They're easier to feed than the horses, and they don't take as much veterinary care. So.
Did you see his videos?
They don't complain like cowboys do.
Did you see his videos?
What?
Did you see his videos?
I saw. Yeah, I saw some of it. I saw some of his videos. I didn't see anything particularly cruel or I mean, once again, they're cowboys. I've seen worse stuff at stables.
Yeah,
So,
somebody
I mean,
said,
it's just,
yeah, he
just,
was,
it's just
that
the way
there
it
were
is.
trainers that were more harsh than him, because,
Yeah.
that's what I heard.
But you know what's interesting, Carolyn?
There's one guy in New Mexico. I watch his videos all the time. He's mean to his dogs. I mean, really, really mean. I mean, that's just the way that's the way he is. People still buy his dogs. And it's interesting. A lot of Patrick's, not unexpected, a lot of Patrick's clientele were women. A lot of women bought his dogs, and a lot of women invited him to show their dogs at their trials. A lot of the women organized the dog trials, and then they'd make sure Patrick was going to come there because he scored very high. Judges liked his dogs, and he would do very, very well.
Right, and then he had that woman that he was doing
he did pretty good in rodeo too, but
wild donkeys, right?
Yep. I talked with her.
Wild donkeys, wild trained donkeys, and that's with Mr. Klein and Mrs. Klein in Cripple Creek. He had a very lucrative, multi-year lucrative contract to take care of those donkeys. And a farrier does everything from shoeing to mild veterinary care. So he had a long-term contract with them, and once again it was lucrative. That was and it probably spawned a lot more business for him too. Word of mouth in that industry is very, very important. So he had clients all over. I mean, it wouldn't be unnatural for him to drive 100 miles to go see a client, and they pay the price and stuff.
I see. Right.
I mean, he probably wouldn't go 100 miles to shoe one horse, one shoe, but most of these people have 4 horses or 6 horses or 8 horses, and he goes up there and he replaces all the shoes at one time, and they hand him cash, and off he goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a cash business. It's a good business. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely so. And then there's also
and
that
hitting a horse and doing.
Oh, go ahead.
What?
You go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead. It's hitting a horse. You were saying.
Hitting a horse. Yeah, when you're underneath a horse and the horse is kicking you, I mean, you're hitting back at a horse is not uncommon for all the farriers. Now, some of them hit them less hard, less often, but you have to do some self-defense once in a while. I mean, you can get kicked and knocked unconscious easily. And then some of these horses, I mean, they're at stables. You have 9 horses, 2 of them would be a little rambunctious, a little harder to shoe. So you might have to be a little more aggressive with him. He's 6'3". He's a big fellow. He's strong, but still, you can't over-muscle a horse. Just doesn't happen. So, it's a lot of people like, hey, you hit him with the rasp, or you hit him, and it might just be the only thing that was in his hand at that moment. Not a good practice. He has to learn. I mean, but I don't think he would have been doing a furrier business over such a wide area and been recommended so much if he was doing a bad job of it. It just strikes me as if he'd been out of business. If he was doing a bad job, he had been out of business long ago. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, and it also could be, you could play devil's advocate. It could be the woman that he was doing that with. Maybe he broke up, like maybe there was something else there and she just wanted to get at him. You following me? Like
Yep.
maybe she wanted romantic. And then it didn't work out, or he blew her off.
Carolyn, insightful, yeah.
Yeah. And she just wanted to just jab him.
Yeah.
But so we don't know. I mean, so yeah, maybe that's why it wasn't, admissible there because of that. But the other, let me see, is that everything that I wanted to go over? Yeah. So it's just a lot of things that are just, that guy, he said Patrick was a good father and that he had the baby with him a lot, right? That older guy that I think that would go out with him.
Pam Klein, or Clinton Klein. Yes, Clinton Klein. Yeah.
And he said that.
Or it might have been,
baby.
Clinton Klein. I think is who you're referring to. Yeah.
He always has a smile on his face during these trials. I mean, he just seems so jovial, like everything is good to go, but whatever. I'm annoyed by them. Sorry. You're going to get the emotional side from me, Carolyn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, so I think we'll just then see what tomorrow brings in the courtroom there.
Mhm.
Yeah. See, I think I don't know if I'm not going to get my hopes up that Crystal's going to be on tomorrow, because it's just then then we'll see what happens. But I'll be interested to see at least those pictures that you're going to get of the surveillance and see what that shows. That'll be telling.
Well, Carolyn, with your audience, you all might ought to discuss some evening. Do you think Patrick will take? Krista, Deb, and I have been talking about it. Might make really, really good sense for Patrick at the very, very end of the trial to say, "I want to go on," and he could effectively dispel any of Crystal's story, and could probably reverse it, and they wouldn't have, prosecution would not have any time to rebut, bring up rebuttal witnesses in or anything like that, and they'd be very ineffective at that point. So you might ask folks, do you think Patrick is going to break his silence at the end?
Most of them just said they don't think he will. I mean, I personally don't think he will. He just seems like he's not going to even open his mouth. But we'll see what
He's
happens.
very pragmatic, though. His habits, his lifestyle has been very pragmatic, and if he thinks he could bust up Crystal's story, he's going to. Any guy who runs around and wrestles calves, okay? I mean, something 300 pounds, weighs way more than it's running and weighs more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna have a problem taking a risk. So I think he might step. We're thinking he might step. And we're not saying he will. We're just thinking, for the first time ever, that might be the one moment where he might speak up. Now, if he's afraid of a conspiracy charge or a later charge, or he thinks he's going to go to a mistrial, he might not. The attorney might say, "Hey, let it go to a mistrial, and we'll do it again."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, I think it would be good conversation to see what people say.
Yeah, a lot of them, they're all saying like, no, he's not going to talk. He's guilty. He won't say a word. Yeah. So.
Say something. Yeah. Even he almost has to say something, but that will just ruin him too. When he's all pepper with that voice that he has. You guys go back and listen to him and watch that. That's how he sounds on the telephone call from Colonel.
Yeah, I think we actually heard that early on, right? We were allowed to hear that early on. That I'll have to find the clip, but I'm fairly certain they did release that clip early on in the case. I'm gonna look for it because I'm fairly certain. Yes, I remember hearing it.
Yeah, he's just no emotion, but it's just that whole country tone that he tries to have. And it was so weird with the bank surveillance with that guy's people. You guys, I think we're going to hear more about Slagle. He was wearing that burgundy button down and looking all hotty-toddy. Patrick Frazee kind of all cozied up in his hoodie sweatshirt, almost like a little puppy dog. And then here's strong Slagle telling Miss Key what she needs to do and look up, and she caught on to them. And just the gall of, we were never here, okay? They said that to her. Like, remember, we were never here. Who does that?
No, and just no, and the Verizon guy too. He said, "Well, don't believe everything you hear," or something. Don't believe, like that's just so weird. Why would you, say that? It's just so strange. And even like you said, the Verizon store, everybody acts all uptight in there. I know the last time I was there, I hit my fist on the counter about something. But yeah, the Verizon store is just not special. But he must have really made a spectacle of himself. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's just, oh my gosh, crazy.
Well, thank you for having us on, you guys. And so Carolyn, if I may, we did have a debrief of tonight, and there's a few more things that I feel like we can talk for days about this, and then it's still too much. like drinking from a fire hose. But is this okay that we can refer over to the debrief on our page?
Oh
We
yeah,
love you.
I'll put the link up. I'll put the link up again. Yeah, I'll put the link up to the Facebook page where you guys can go
We
join.
appreciate
If you haven't joined, join, and then you can see the debrief on their page. Hang on.
Yeah, we're always working in concert. We're huge fans of yours. I personally go to sleep to your voice. So I love you. I'm one of your biggest fans.
Oh,
You know
love you
that.
too. Thank you.
Oh.
So I'm getting the link.
Carolyn, my compliments on how up on the case you are. My
Oh, yeah,
compliments.
we've been waiting a long time. I probably would have been up further, like when it first came out, we read all the discovery and we just kept going over and over the solicitation and how she would, the Starbucks and all that crazy stuff that was there. And then, you know, there was a lull in it and we got into
Crazy.
Watts in between and then other cases in between. And now we're back. And yeah, now we're all into this. So I'm trying
Oh,
to.
Carolyn, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
Tom is not my husband. And if he was, he's in big trouble. Because I don't have a diamond on my finger, no rings, no nothing, and no honeymoon.
Right, and that would also be a little. You guys would be living very far apart since he's in Virginia, right?
He's not that. He's in trouble if he is.
Right? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And Deb, I'm going to have to become the Phantom now. I'm really going to have to be anonymous.
Okay, my computer's just being slow. I'm getting carried
And
on.
thank you guys.
But thanks a lot for coming, and can't wait to see what you find out tomorrow. And okay, here we go. I've got
Yeah,
it.
to let you guys get back to it. Thanks
All
again
right.
for having us.
I've
Tom,
got the
thank you
link.
very much, my dear.
Thank
He's
you.
in your time, and he's an early bird.
Here's the link coming
Thank
in
you.
now. I've got it finally. Okay, guys, here's the link. Here, I'm going to put it. Just go join up, and there's a debriefing on the page if you haven't joined already. And there, your live stream keeps cutting out, Sakura, but I'm going to put it in again. There's another link. Okay. And
Thank you.
good. Thank you. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.